He dumped me because I didn't know enough science. But when I found out he was cheating with a 19-year-old student, he didn't just lose me. He lost his PhD, his career, $30,000 in grants, and still has no idea I was the one who pulled the strings. If you've ever fantasized about the perfect revenge, the kind where karma doesn't just visit, but moves in, then hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories where justice isn't a maybe, it's inevitable. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen unfold? Back in the 90s, I was a college student chasing my own dreams when I met Jake, a charming animal sciences grad student. He was 23, I was in my early 20s, and we connected instantly. It felt like fate. He was moving across the country for grad school, and I was moving just 90 minutes away from where he'd be. We fell hard and fast. Jake's family welcomed me like one of their own. His siblings, 2 sisters and a younger brother, became my fast friends. I spent weekends at Jake's rented house, a modest place he shared with 2 roommates who were also in his program. Money was tight, but we made it work with cheap taco dates and lazy weekends, surrounded by the small animals Jake bred and sold for extra income. He was deep into his PhD work, and I genuinely admired his passion. I even became close with Mary, the warm-hearted wife of Jake's advisor. She worked in university admin and took me under her wing, often inviting me to lunch when I came up for weekends. Ironically, I ended up making friends in Jake's program faster than he did. I never realized that would come in handy later. Then one night, 2 years in, lying in bed with him, he turned to me and said something that burned into my brain forever. I've been having trouble staying attracted to you. You've gained weight. No mention of health. No conversation about stress or life. Just my body and his supposed struggle to find it attractive. I remember sitting up, staring at him in disbelief. Then maybe you should stop feeding me crackers and cheese every weekend. I shot back, calm but cold. Even then, I didn't take that kind of disrespect lightly. I was still the same size, 6 to 8, I'd always been. He blinked at me like he didn't expect pushback. So what's your solution to this? I asked. He hesitated and said, I guess you should try to lose weight. I stared him down and said, no, I'm not going to do that. So what are you going to do? He shrugged. Nothing. I just wanted you to know how I feel. I got dressed, went to sleep, and drove home the next morning like nothing happened. But that moment stayed with me like a poison because I knew something deeper was off. 3 months later, he called to end the relationship. After nearly 3 years, his reason? You don't know enough about science. Apparently, my inability to use Latin names for animals made our relationship too intellectually unbalanced. I knew it was BS. When he came to return something a month later, I demanded the real reason. That's when he confessed he'd been sleeping with a 19-year-old undergrad student in his class. Let's call her Meg. I exploded. My roommate threatened to toss him off the balcony if he didn't leave. But the rage quickly turned into an eerie clarity. I had met Meg before, once at a barbecue. She'd spilled something on her pants, and Jake asked me if I could loan her some sweats. I couldn't. She was a size 18, and I was a size 8. That's when it all clicked. He didn't think I was too fat. He liked big girls. He just wanted me to break up with him because he was too cowardly to do it himself. His timing made no sense. 1 a.m. after sex, knowing I lived nearly 100 miles away. He thought I'd storm out? Please. I decided to email his roommates. This was the early 2000s, when emails were the grown-up way to handle uncomfortable truths. I told them we'd broken up, thanked them for their kindness, and wished them well. Both replied, confessing they knew about Meg. In fact, they were the ones who told Jake to confess, or they would. One of the roommates, George, smart, kind, and frankly adorable, offered to help collect the last of my things. He invited me up for a weekend, said we should go out drinking and just enjoy life, things Jake never wanted to spend money on. So I said yes. I drove up, and George let me in while Jake was out. But before we hit the town, I took photos, lots of them, of the animals Jake was keeping, especially one I knew was an endangered species. He was supposed to file paperwork and pay a $25 fee to keep it legally. He never did because, in his words, I don't want the government in my business. He also had another animal that was flat out illegal to own in our state. It was in a tank next to the window, visible from the outside. I documented everything. Then George and I went out, laughed too hard, drank too much, and stumbled home. As we walked in, me in a short dress, heels in hand, Jake and Meg were on the couch. George played it up, practically carrying me in. We went to his room and made just enough noise to be heard. Moaning, giggling, footsteps. He was a gentleman, but made sure to pass by them shirtless more than once. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen in my wrinkled dress, hair mess, and slowly ate a donut while Jake glared. "You don't have to act like a whore in front of me," he sneered. George kissed the top of my head. I smiled and replied, "Have fun with my leftovers." Then walked out. That wasn't the revenge. That was just the warm-up. The next day, I had those photos developed. I called the State Fish and Wildlife Office, explained what I saw, and asked how to report it. I didn't even have to lie. They were extremely interested. Meanwhile, George and the other roommate filed formal complaints to the university. They were fed up with Jake's arrogance and the fact he was sleeping with one of his own students. While we were out at bars, we made sure every student in Jake's circle heard the truth. It wasn't long before the whispers turned to outrage, especially among the women in his department. Then I called Mary, Jake's advisor's wife. She had already heard the "she wasn't smart enough" excuse. I told her the real reason. I even had emails where Jake admitted to the relationship. She was furious and immediately told her husband, Jake's advisor. 2 weeks later, George called me in delight. State officials were at the house, confiscating animals. George played the perfect witness, walking them through everything. Meg tried to defend Jake, saying everything was legal. She had no idea she was admitting it all belonged to him. Officers looked through the backyard and spotted the endangered animal, then used a warrant to search the house, finding even more violations. Jake lost all the animals, worth thousands. He paid a $15,000 fine. The endangered ones went to a local nature center. I visited them sometimes. His university revoked his scholarship. He was fired as a TA. Without the scholarship, he couldn't afford the PhD program, so he walked away with a master's, while lying to his family that we broke up because of the distance. His sisters knew the truth because I sent them his emails where he tried to justify cheating on me because I couldn't keep up academically. Then I made one final call to the EPA. Jake had just received a federal grant. I asked how to report illegal activity by recipient of taxpayer funds. He lost the grant, owed restitution, $30,000, and was permanently blacklisted from receiving federal research money. He never knew it was me. Never knew that the woman he dismissed as too dumb was the one who unraveled his academic career one string at a time. 20 years later, I gave a lecture at a major university. Afterward, someone tapped my shoulder and said, "Hey, long time no see." It was Jake. My face stayed blank. "I'm sorry. Have we met at another workshop?" I asked. He stared at me, confused. "It's me, Jake." I gasped in fake recognition. "Oh, wow. I must have blocked you out." He reached for a hug. I took a step back. "Lovely to see you," I said, then turned away. That would have been the perfect ending, but the universe had one more twist. Over dinner, the department chair casually mentioned Jake was there for a teaching interview. I choked on my drink. He's teaching? After what happened at University X? They froze. What happened? I told them everything, truthfully. Turns out that triggered a full background check. Mary, now retired, called to tell me they found the complaints, the misconduct, and even the expunged arrest record. Jake never got that job. The best revenge doesn't come from malice. It comes from truth. I never had to lie or scheme. I just made sure people knew what kind of man Jake really was. And in the end, that was enough to burn the tower he tried to build on my back. If that hit your justice nerve, like this video and subscribe for more stories where karma gets help from someone with a camera, a conscience, and a plan. What would you have done in my shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because revenge might not always be sweet, but it sure is satisfying.